How's it going? I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to go over the two trades I took on QQQ and the one trade that I took on SPY. All three trades today were losers. Pretty bad day for me. Got stopped out in some tricky moments. Took some bad trades, but we'll take a look at that in just a second. We're on the daily time frame here. I'm not going to go over all the levels. In fact, I'm just going to jump into an hourly chart here. So a couple things I was watching. We were opening the day. We had the pre-market high up here around 485.8. Pre-market, well, not a pre-market low, but a swing low here around 483.7. I drew this support here. Was thinking potentially after the past 2 days sell-off, this could be a larger flag on the larger time frame. Watching for a break and retest of that potentially. We had a really bullish day, so that did not happen. We did break and close below, but quickly recovered. We can take a look in that in just a second. Other than that, had a few levels above us: 486.5, 487, 48.1, 488.7. Yesterday's high day. We'll also take a look at QQQ and similar thing on QQQ. A little fewer levels on that, but we had pre-market high, pre-market that swing low, very similar look to SPY. Drew that support again to either look for calls on the retest or puts if we broke and retested. We had yesterday's low, yesterday's high. We had this level here around 421 and some to the top. We'll look at QQQ first. It is the first trade that I took and where I had my first two trades, both of which were losers. So the first trade that I took, the morning we were kind of chopping around, not a lot going on, couldn't establish a trend necessarily. We had news come out at 8. We sold off, touched that pre-market swing low, rallied from there and came up and tested that 420 level and that pre-market high. From there, we had a little bit of a pullback, and as we pulled back to retest the previous high here, this like 419.5, I got in calls here. We retested, we held it, we were retesting it again, and I got in calls. On the 5 minute, you can see that we did wick all the way down to 419, and then closed pretty strong at that 419.5 area, that previous high, before making a new high on the day. But this wick down stopped me out. So we can take a look here. We can take a look at why I took the trade. We can take a look at why it might not have been the best trade. So you can see on the 2 minute, we have these upper wicks up here. We really struggled to break above it. We had a big bounce after the news came out, came up, break above it, and pulled back into that area. We got initial bounce, came down and retested, and this is where I got where I got calls right here. So the subsequent candle stopped me out when we pushed down here. And why I think this was a bad trade? Well, I think the idea was there, right? I think that the idea is not bad, and I think seeing this on the 5 minute here where we pushed up, retested, wicked up, closed pretty, not incredibly strong, but didn't close in that area, showed that some buyers were present. After that 5 minute candle printed, I felt comfortable to take calls here, looking for continuation. However, this 5 minute candle is pretty much the exact opposite of this, right? Long wick on top, body sells down, closes near the low, versus up here, we wicked down and pushed up and closed. So pretty much an inverse. I think at this point might have been like writing on the wall a little bit, that we weren't as strong as maybe we'd hoped. But a good entry would have been after seeing this. Seeing that on the 5 minute chart and then entering on this candle, obviously we broke above and then got another drop. But this move here would have been a nice move, break above that high a day and that 420 whole number. If you took 420 strike, then that would have moved from out of the money. In the money would have been a pretty nice move. Overall, looking at about little under $1 move, about 80 cents or so. So that was the first trade. The idea was there. Execution wasn't that great, and the stop probably was a little looser than it should have been. I was trying to keep it, give it a little bit of room to breathe. We had the 9 EMA in there. That was kind of my final straw because we were pushing down, but we were still holding the 9 EMA for a little bit. But then we broke really quick on a higher volume. You see that volume that came in. We were holding it for a bit, and then that just broke down, and that caused my my stop did not fill, and that was a bigger loss than we would have liked to have. The second trade that I had and the second loss was on QQQ as well, and very similar setup. We had that rejection off 420, that pre-market high, right? We recovered, we bounced, we had increasing volume as we broke above high a day and that pre-market high. We came down, we tested, we held it for subsequent candles. I saw an increase in volume on the break, decrease in volume on the retest, holding that level, that pre-market high and previous high. I got in calls here. We held it for a bit and then immediately dumped, and this stopped me out. I'm glad it did because we fell quite a bit further after that. But similar setup, break and retest a high a day, also pre-market high, whole number. This setup usually is something that I'd look for. We can look at why it maybe wasn't the best trade. We'll take a look at the 5-minute. And there was a 5-minute close that when I was in the position didn't make me feel very comfortable. And that 5-minute close was this one right here. So we had this 5-minute close where we came down, we held on the 2-minute, we held on the 5-minute. I felt good to enter here at this point. Entered calls, but then we printed this candle, and that's about as weak as it gets, right? That looks like an obvious top. That's the type of thing that you see before you get reversals. A long upper wick, closing near the low of the day, or not the low of the day, the low of the candle. So I think that might have been a sign of what was to come, right? We tried to push up, we were weak, and we closed pretty weak. I think after seeing something like that, maybe keeping a tight stop, after maybe not getting the expected result, after we got this, with this move up, we're bullish on the day, right? We're making higher highs, higher lows, but that just was not there, and we dropped, and it stopped me out. So two trades, 2 losses, similar setups, break and retest a previous high, looking for continuation. Both times stopped me out. I think one thing that I could learn from this is to pay attention to maybe the 5-minute, and maybe give a little bit more weight for that. Maybe be a bit more selective, a bit more picky with the trades that I do take. For example, seeing this at this area and buying calls, or like seeing similarly this hammer, at this previous area, if we extend this out, come down, retest, print that hammer, maybe after seeing that close, getting in calls would have been a good move. Yeah, so I think overall, just maybe being a bit better with picking my trades, being a little bit more selective, perhaps. So those were 2 trades there, and the 2 losses to start the day. The final trade that I took, and this was not on stream, I took this after I got off the stream because it was coming down into a setup that I was watching. So this is on SPY. On SPY, we had that support trend line, right? In the morning when we had that news, we came down and bounced off this area and made a new high. We had this high similar to QQQ, kind of dumped after that, and we came down and we retested this level. I took calls here, expecting there to be support again, but when we broke through, I stopped out. I did have a pretty tight stop here. I shouldn't have taken a 3rd trade. I already had 2 losses on the day. So this was just not that great in the first place. Once again, 5-minute, there's no confirmation, right? We finished a massive bearish engulfing candle on increased volume. We did close, above that trend line for sure, but we didn't look strong by any means. And this is what it looked like on the 2-minute here. So it looked a bit better on the 2-minute. I believe I got in here and I stopped out here when we broke this level. So once we broke down here, I got out. We did have a bit of a reversal. That was kind of the low of the day. Yeah, so we did get some buyers down in this level before racing off and making new highs later in the day. I think just bad execution on my part. I think I'm taking trades that I'm forcing a bit. Um, I think I'm just, as you can see, this chart looks way too cluttered. I don't like that. I want to clear some stuff out. I'm going to make some changes. Well, I don't want to change anything too drastically, but I want to be more selective, I should say, in the trades that I'm taking. I think things like this, right? You come down and you have that candle print on a support that you've held before, right? Beautiful. There's a good entry for calls. Then we move up. Similarly, something like this, right? You come down, you test, you hold that level, print a hammer. That's a good sign for calls. Yeah, I think a lot of these weren't, after here, taking calls here would have been a good move. We came down, we held that on the 5-minute. Maybe so paying a bit more attention to the candles, the price action on the 5-minute, a little bit higher time frame, rather than watching that 2-minute maybe as precisely. But anyways, that's all I have for you. Like I said, pretty bad day for me. Just execution wasn't there. It was really tricky. We were getting some really vicious moves in opposite directions. We'd get a big move down, big move up, big move down, big move up, big move down. So while we were kind of trending, it was a bit volatile, I'll say. And I think that caused me to get stopped out and maybe didn't get the setups that I was expecting or hoping for. Try to learn from it. Didn't blow the account, it's a loss. We'll take it, but we'll come back. Overall, yeah, I don't got much else to say. It was kind of a frustrating day, but we'll look to end the week strong tomorrow. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I do trade live Monday through Friday, so if you want to stop by, say what's up, please do. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. All right, peace.